Now it's time again, and you can see that this is a cyclic thing, that we go through a process and we reflect on it, give ourselves time and a place to reflect on it again, to do a self-assessment, to make sure that you're being objective, and think about what's new. What new understandings have you come up with, or new possibilities have you come up with? Not solutions, even yet, not solutions. Even though things are bubbling away in your head, write them down, put them over there, and then keep going with the process. What's new?
Okay, and we might begin to think of things like ethical implications. For example, with our chair, I might look at something like, imagine you were designing a chair for a disabled person. Now, on the surface of it, that might seem like a good thing to do.
Yeah.
However, it's important to maybe think about how undertaking this task might, in fact, highlight that person's disability. It seems like a contradiction, but in actual fact, they're the sorts of things you need to think of. So would we widen the parameters if we were designing a chair so that it would function for a whole range of people that might include people that have disabilities, or however we want to term it, so that in actual fact we don't highlight a person's disability, but we cover a wide range of parameters. I mean, could we say that an elderly person who has difficulty in movement is disabled? Would a short person be disabled?
Definitely.
Is a child disabled in that sense, in terms of using a chair? So we need to think about, with the example of the chair, designing it in such a way that it covers as broad a range of aspects as possible, so that in fact it doesn't highlight or disadvantage anyone or point out disabilities or things like that. For
instance, overweight, seriously overweight people on public transport. Is the seating coping with them?
Or on an aeroplane.
Or on an aeroplane, yeah.
Big issue.
Big, tall people.
You've got to pay for 2 seats.
Well, people who have got really long legs on an aeroplane. But it also raises a whole lot of other aspects, you know. Seating for children, generally speaking, is low so that they can sit on it, but that means they're not in the range of normal people. Seating for handicapped people, for instance, in a wheelchair, which raises a whole number of issues, not only about ethics, but the fact that they live their lives in that chair, that becomes part of them, almost like somebody with a wooden leg, or somebody with eyeglasses, or we all live part of our lives with clothes. So the chair becomes like that for them, and so we get a different way of looking at it. Not only is it a handicap to them, for instance, as we said with children, they're always at a different height to everybody else, but also it offers them a positive aspect as well, in that they have mobility and they are able to assume some of the functions of people who've got normally working legs and so on. There's also the Gestalt psychology idea, or the Gestalt therapy idea, of putting yourself in another person's role. So typically there's a little red chair. It's not communist, but it's a chair that is specifically for adopting another role. So imagine you put yourself in that, you use the idea of the chair or whatever task you're doing to put yourself in another role. What does it feel like to be whatever your issue is that you're discussing, whatever task it is that you're trying to expand on? So we already have some experience of this. What do you already know about it? How do you expand on that possibility? Typically, in Gestalt therapy, the little red chair is used for adopting another role. So if you look at your lunchbox and you say, look at this rotten lunch my mum's given me this morning, then the teacher might say to you, well, go and sit in the little red chair and imagine what it's like to be your mum making your lunch every day. How can you take your task and put yourself in another position in it?